here with another episode of the Daily Deuce. Joining you as usual, your favorite father-son combination is Dante Webster, and
Hey, I'm John Webster. Welcome back, Dante.
always nice to do this again. Coming to you from our lovely in-house studio here that we have going on for you right now. So we're gonna get right into it. So NBA Finals time. This is the premier time for basketball. Last couple games of the year. Right now we have the Toronto Raptors, and they are locked in a series with the Golden State Warriors. What have you seen? What have you liked? Can't really ask you who you have because we're already into the series now, so I don't know. You may change your bet, but it's one of those things. So what have you seen? It's one of the things. What are some of the themes that you're seeing? Some of the trends that you're seeing? What have you noticed?
Two words, what I've seen, Dante. Kawhi Leonard. He has been a dominant factor throughout the playoffs. The Golden State Warriors really need Kevin Durant. I know there was a lot of talk after the Portland series and even when they wrapped up the Houston series that they're playing so well they don't need Durant. That's really not true. It's obvious Durant's one of the top 3 or 5 basketball players in the NBA right now. They really miss him. They really need him. They're also injured besides Durant. Klay Thompson has a hamstring, which hamstrings are really tricky. He can hurt that again at any point. Iguodala has a bad calf muscle. The center, Looney, he's got a fractured bone up in his chest. They're beat up, but don't take anything away from Toronto. They're playing great. Kyle Lowry is knocking down shots, running a great point guard, doing everything really well. Danny Green is hitting a lot of shots. Van Fleet's coming off the bench. Not only is he hitting shots, he's locking down Steph Curry. You got to give them credit. They're a great team. They're playing well. And I don't think a lot of people really expected Toronto to be able to do what they're doing right now.
I'm probably on the same side as you. Where it says like Kawhi Leonard has really been the thing, the dominating force that you've seen recently. The other thing that I enjoy are all the Kawhi Leonard articles and think pieces that we have these days that just kind of tell us how much of a basketball-driven individual he is. And it's just one of those things where it's like, he kind of does come off as a weirdo in certain things that you read, but he really just loves his basketball. And the other funny part is that he doesn't say much when he's playing on the court, doesn't talk trash, says small phrases. So he loves to rebound. Apparently one of the things he says all the time is board man gets paid. So that's what he says when he's getting rebounds out there. So that's Kawhi Leonard's trash talk apparently, which is really interesting to learn.
You know, he could play for me all day long. Old school, doesn't talk, just plays.
Just plays ball. No, he does play ball. He's a great player. So it's one of those things that you have learned. I was probably in the course of people that thought the Warriors could win this without Kevin Durant. Didn't think they were necessarily better, but their offense does move differently without Kevin Durant. The free-flowing style of their offense is back when you're not just sitting around watching Kevin Durant, one of the greatest basketball players, just do his thing. That part is noticeable, but you do need him. Unfortunately, everybody else is hurt. You just don't have Kevin Durant's the ultimate release valve for them. When everything else isn't working, you could just give him the ball and just say, go ahead and get one.
And he's also, when he's on the court, I'm not saying he wipes out Leonard. Nobody's going to stop Leonard. But it nullifies some of everything he does because when you put Durant on the court, Leonard has to actually go and play Durant on defense, and Durant can play Leonard on defense. It changes the spectrum of the game and gives, as you said, gives Golden State another option. With Durant not playing, Leonard can almost play like a free safety, be in the middle of the court, just wait for different things to come down that lane and just roam and get steals. And he's a great player, but they really need Durant. And if people didn't believe it before now, they should believe it now. He is definitely needed in this series.
So what do you think happens if Kevin Durant doesn't come back? Rest of the series, done. What do you think happens?
Toronto beats him. Toronto wins. I think in the beginning I said it was going to go 7 games anyway. I thought 7 games. Everybody told me I was crazy. But I thought it would be 7 games. I thought it would be Golden State in 7. But I think now it's going to be 6 games, and I think Toronto takes them out in 6.
I don't think Kevin Durant's going to come back, so I pretty much think they're dead to rights at this point. It's one of those things where it's just already lined up for them, and they probably can't. They just don't seem to have the firepower to overcome it. They're too banged up. It's just too many injuries and too many things that are just stacked against them. They've done a great job in getting as far as they have, which also does kind of speak to the strength of the top teams in the West since they managed to cakewalk through them not banged up, but with so many missing things. Does speak to that too. But I just think it's one of those things where it just seems like it's Toronto's year right about now, and it just doesn't seem like there's anything that's going to happen to change that. And I think Kevin Durant's looking ahead to that free agency and thinking, I'm not going to sacrifice well, I'm not going to sacrifice anything for these guys when they thought they were better off without me. So I can go ahead, do your thing.
So are you saying there's some personal feelings in this
yes,
content?
I'm saying the person who runs their own burner accounts definitely probably does have some personal feelings towards this. But hey, it's the NBA. We love the personalities, year-round game. So we're just going to have to wait and see what's going to happen.
It will be very interesting, and look forward to July 1.
Absolutely.
The draft is what, June 20th?
Yeah.
And then the free agency starts July 1. It's going to be very interesting.
So we have some good things coming up ahead of us.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And it is June, so you know that means baseball's. I had to think what month it was. I had to think of that. But anyway, so it's June, so that means that baseball season is in full effect. And we're coming upon July, so that means we're almost at what, the midway mark? The midway point.
Almost to the midway mark and the All-Star game.
Almost at the All-Star game, which won't be in DC this year. Sad. But what have you seen? Who are you liking so far? I know you're not liking the Orioles because they're like 20 games out already. The season's already over.
I will always like the Orioles, Dante. That will never change. They are still my team. We are in a significant rebuild mode right now. Got a good win yesterday against Houston, 4-1. But they have a lot to do. They have a lot to do. A long way to go. Pitching is what is really needed. They're going to have to get some pitching out of that farm system. They have some good pitchers down in the single A level, which is Delmarva, which is down in Salisbury. They got 2 or 3 pitchers down there right now who are doing a great job, but they won't be ready for the major leagues until 2 or 3 years from now. But overall, in the major leagues, the Yankees, as always, they're in a tie right now with Tampa Bay for first place. They're doing well. Minnesota's doing extremely well. Thought Cleveland would take that division, but Minnesota's on top of it right now. And out west, it's Houston. Houston's one of the best teams, and that's who the Orioles are doing their blueprint, following them as far as how to build their team back into being a title contender.
Where's the first?
Oh, yeah. And out in the National League, Philadelphia's doing a great job. Your Nationals are really struggling.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
There is no bullpen.
8 games out.
There is no bullpen in Washington. You have Scherzer and you have Strasburg, and after you get past the 6th inning, it's lights on, not lights out. It's a problem there. In the Central Division, you got Milwaukee and Chicago, the Cubs. I always like the Cubs. They're battling, and out west, it's the Dodgers.
Just Dodgers.
Yeah.
Between Bellinger and Ryu, I think that's his name. The Dodgers basically have the top guys in like every individual category, basically in terms of hitting and in terms of just pitching. Only one I think they don't have somebody in the tops for would be strikeouts. But otherwise, the Dodgers are really doing a great job. That's like the one thing that I've noticed as I've just gone through and looked at everything baseball related in order to get prepared for all of this. It's just one of those things where it's just keep seeing the Dodgers, and that's all you're hearing about when you look around too. It's just like, oh, the Dodgers, they're really doing things. And so you just wonder, will this finally be the year where the Dodgers actually break through and win? Because we've seen the Dodgers capture the pennant now 2 years in a row.
Right.
And they have lost the World Series both times. So now you start to question, is this finally the year for the Dodgers? I've kind of given up on the dream of the Nats winning a World Series. I don't think the Nats are going to the playoffs, to be honest. So,
really?
Yeah, no, I don't think so. It's probably not going to happen.
So you don't see relief pitching getting any better?
Don't see anything happening. I see somebody probably getting fired, but, sad. Well, you got to see that.
Could that be Davey Martinez?
Yeah, probably somebody has to take the fall for it.
Is Dusty going to come back?
No, I told you. I think they should both be unemployed together. It's just one of those things where one guy just didn't make the difference, but I mean the other guy got to the playoffs. Sometimes that's all you need. You need a team that can get to the playoffs. After a certain point, you do want to win when you get to the playoffs, but I understand what you're saying in a way. I think they should probably both just be getting to know each other with their extra days that they'd have if they were both, done with their jobs. Don't ever want to see anybody get fired or anything like that, but they just weren't the guys. But yeah, I think that's the biggest thing I've noticed so far is a lot of stuff about the Dodgers this year. They're looking like a really good team. I know just on the Padres, another team that's on the rise, doing pretty good for themselves.
San Diego's in 3rd place. They are better than what they've been in the past. Colorado's in 2nd.
Yeah.
But I don't see San Diego making any noise for the playoffs. I don't even think they'll make the playoffs. I think they'll be a 500 team, which will be an improvement. They have some good players there. I think Hosner used to be at Kansas City is still there. Machado's there now. They have some good players. They have some things coming up from the farm system. but they're not ready to overtake the Dodgers. Out west is still going to be the Dodgers.
So who do you have as your World Series matchup like midway through the season? Who you got?
And we're going to come back. We can change this, right?
Yeah, you can change it, but who do you have right now?
So right now I could say Orioles Cubs like I did last year.
No, that probably won't be the case. These Orioles aren't going to make it. You have to be realistic with yourself here.
Okay, I want to go Houston and the Cubs.
Houston and the Cubs.
Yeah,
that's not a bad one. Right now, I'd probably say you get a rematch of Astros Dodgers. That's what I would say would happen right about now. I always say the Dodgers will win the World Series every year. Have yet to be right. I think maybe this year could finally be the year when I get that prediction right.
I mean, they have all the pieces. They have pitching, they have hitting, they have relievers, they have shutdown relievers. They have everything. They got defense, but I just see Houston being able to do it.
We shall see. We are almost midway through. We will check back in later in the year, and we will see if I was right about my selection or if you were right.
We'll see.
And the other interesting thing that's happened in the world of sports recently is that we have a new world heavyweight champion in boxing.
Who?
Andy, help me out with the last name.
Andy Ruiz.
Yeah, I was about to say, I wanted to make sure. Okay, yes, Andy Ruiz. Yes, I think it's Andy Ruiz Jr.
Yeah.
Andy Ruiz Jr. So he is the new world heavyweight champion, and the biggest thing about him is that Andy Ruiz Jr. doesn't look like he does much in the gym. He looks like an average Joe kind of fighter. He looks like he just looks like the guy that stepped into the ring because it was open and he was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna do this. That's just what they say about Andy Ruiz. Now, to be fair to Andy Ruiz, he had a very impressive record leading into his fight with Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua was the reigning champion, undefeated, and the fight that everybody wanted to see in the heavyweight division was Joshua against Deontay Wilder.
Yep.
That fight now you may get it, but it may take a while because you have to go through a rematch between Ruiz and Joshua, and then you'd probably have to have another fight between Fury and Wilder. There are 4 top guys right now in the heavyweight division, and everything is all over the place and everything is changing just because one guy, you don't want to say he got lucky, but because one guy had a great night and won the championship, everything is changing in that division now.
One guy had a great night and another guy has a glass jaw.
There you go. Yeah, great nights and glass jaws. Absolutely.
But I don't know, Dante. It's going to be interesting. Deontay Wilder had been quoted as saying he didn't think much of Joshua and said he thought he had a glass jaw. Wilder really right now needs to think about his next fight, and he's trying to get a rematch with Tyson Fury. Hopefully that will come about. The winner of Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, and Ruiz, and what's the guy's name? Joshua. Hopefully that'll be the winners of those 2 fights will get together and make a mega fight for unification of all the belts. That's what I hope will happen. We'll have to see. Heavyweight boxing, it's really, for me, it's not as interesting as when I was probably your age, which was a long time ago, or even younger when you had great champions like a Larry Holmes. Spinks was even a champion for a while. Tyson was a champion for a while, and we all know how Mike Tyson did when he was on top of his game as a boxer. He was one of the best. It's really not a lot of excitement now. With Ruiz winning the way he did, it does put some intrigue into the heavyweight category because nobody expected that to happen. Now Joshua has to come back and try to get the belt back. He definitely wants a rematch. He's already signed a rematch clause. Mm-hmm. What they're talking about right now is having the rematch in Madison Square Garden in New York. At first, they were looking at going back to the United Kingdom, but money talks, and a lot of money will be on the line if they go to Madison Square Garden and have this fight in New York. But we'll see.
Do you think that it's still a major money fight if you're able to get a Wilder versus Joshua, or a Wilder, if let's say that Danny Ruiz is able to win again? Do you think it's do you think there's still a major money fight there? I think that the major money fight potential, it does get lost in this. I think it's good because it does add intrigue to your sport, and everybody's been talking about it. Every couple of years we have the conversation of is boxing dying, or one of those type of things. But I feel like the intrigue comes back when you have somebody like Danny Ruiz come in there and win. But then the question does become, is there still a money fight here? Because the money fight that everybody wanted was Wilder Joshua. Now that we've seen Anthony Joshua lose, And Deontay Wilder's kind of been vindicated through all this, and he seems like he's right at this moment. The question becomes: is it still a major money fight? Because if one guy isn't undefeated and we've seen him lose, do people still care to see the matchup as much? Like, it'll still do numbers. Don't get me wrong, but a lot of the wow factor that was attached to that fight, you got to think it's lost its luster.
You got a point, but I think if Joshua comes back and is able to defeat Ruiz in a very handily manner, very dominating manner, then you've got some intrigue back on the table again, as long as Wilder wins his fight. Both of them have to win in order for that intrigue to be there and that money to be there that you're talking about as well. So they both have to win their fights that are being put in front of them right now.
That's true. I think at the bare minimum, you do have to just look at it from the impact of globally. It's good for the sport of boxing because you have the champion was from the UK, and now you have a Mexican American who's wearing the title. Mm-hmm. So it's basically bringing in eyes from a lot of places, and the popularity of it will. I think personally, I know a lot of people saying it may not help. I think ultimately something like this does help boxing on a global level.
It does. The thing is, with Ruiz, you have to see if what happened with him that night is a one-hit wonder.
See if he's Buster Douglas.
Yeah, what he has to do is not be Buster Douglas.
Yeah.
He has to come back this next fight and do the same thing to Joshua again. You bring up Buster Douglas, which is very interesting. Buster Douglas fought Mike Tyson, dominated him for 9 rounds and knocked him out, I think, in the 10th round. But then he fought Evander Holyfield his next fight. He's knocked out in 3 or 4 rounds. And that's the last you really heard of Buster Douglas. So Ruiz needs to come back in this rematch and do the same thing again. If he does the same thing again, and as you say, his popularity continues to grow, then him fighting a Deontay Wilder, it may not be as big as a Wilder fighting Joshua, but the interest level may be bigger because you have somebody that's a curiosity now. Some guy that, as everybody said, looks like someone who does not work out a lot in the gym and boxing, and you have, when he fought Joshua looks like a man of stone, body's chiseled, and he still gets knocked out in 7 rounds. So, have to see. Like I said, for Ruiz, come back, beat Joshua again, dominate him again, and then you're looking at maybe Deontay Wilder. So we'll see.
I guess at the end of the day, we just want to make sure this doesn't become Buster Douglas, Holly Holm, Andy Ruiz.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah,
it's probably what we don't want to see.
Those movies have already been made. We don't need any more sequels.
There you go. Oh yeah, no, this was part of where we were going to sign off, actually.
Well, I've enjoyed this today, Dante. It's been a lot of fun. Watch for Golden State to win the Game 5 and bring it back home and probably lose at home. Now, I will give you one thing. If Durant somehow, some way, is able to suit up for one of these games, it can go 7 games. It can go 7 games.
Durant hasn't played in a month.
And probably a better chance that he won't play for another week.
So there you go. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that. As always, Dante Webster here with you.
And I'm John Webster. Thanks for listening to us today.
All right, we'll see you next time on the Daily Deuce.
Take care.